1. Ransomware. Malware that encrypts files and demands payment for the decryption key. Malware. Any software intentionally designed to cause damage to a computer or network. 3. Crypto ransomware. Ransomware that encrypts files, making them inaccessible without a decryption key. Locker ransomware. Ransomware that locks users out of their entire system rather than encrypting individual files. Double extortion. Attack where threat actors both encrypt data and threaten to leak it publicly. Triple extortion. Adding DDoS attacks or targeting victims' customers on top of double extortion. Ransomware as a service, RaaS. Business model where ransomware developers lease their tools to affiliates. Initial access broker, IAB, threat actors who sell compromised network access to ransomware operators. Affiliate, an operator who deploys ransomware using tools provided by a RaaS platform. Ransom note, the message left by attackers with payment instructions and deadlines. 11. Decryption key. The cryptographic key needed to unlock encrypted files after a ransomware attack. 12. Bitcoin wallet. Cryptocurrency address used by attackers to receive ransom payments. 13. Cryptocurrency tumbler. Service that mixes cryptocurrency transactions to obscure the payment trail. 14. Dwell time. The period between initial compromise and ransomware deployment. Lateral movement, technique where attackers move through a network to reach high-value targets before deploying ransomware. 16. Privilege escalation, gaining higher-level access to deploy ransomware with maximum impact. 17. Payload. The malicious code that executes the ransomware encryption or destructive action. 18. Dropper. A program designed to install malware onto a target system. 19. Loader. Malware that downloads and executes additional malicious payloads. Chapter 20. Stager. Lightweight code that establishes initial foothold and pulls down the full malware payload. Command and control, C2. Infrastructure used by attackers to communicate with and control compromised systems. Beacon. Periodic communication from compromised systems back to the C2 server. 23. Callback. When malware on a victim machine initiates communication to the attacker's server. 24. Dead drop resolver. Legitimate web service used to host encoded C2 server addresses. Domain generation algorithm, DGA. Technique that automatically creates domain names for C2 communication. 26. Fast flux. Rapidly changing DNS records to hide the true location of C2 infrastructure. 27. Trojan. Malware disguised as legitimate software to trick users into executing it. Remote access Trojan. RT. Malware that gives attackers remote control over a compromised system. 29. Keylogger. Malware that records keystrokes to capture passwords and sensitive data. Spyware. Software that secretly monitors user activity and sends data to attackers. Adware. Unwanted software that displays advertisements often bundled with legitimate programs. 32. Worm. Self-replicating malware that spreads across networks without user interaction. 33. Virus to malware that attaches itself to a host file and spreads when that file is executed. 34. Polymorphic malware. Malware that constantly changes its code to evade signature-based detection. 35. Metamorphic malware. Malware that completely rewrites its own code with each iteration. 36. Fileless malware. Attacks that operate entirely in memory without writing files to disk. 37. Living off the land. LOL bins. Using legitimate system tools like PowerShell to carry out malicious actions. Rootkit. Malware that hides deep in the operating system to maintain persistent, undetected access. Bootkit. Rootkit that infects the master boot record to load before the operating system. DC. Logic bomb. Malware that triggers when specific conditions are met, like a date or user action. 41. Wiper. Destructive malware designed to permanently destroy data rather than hold it for ransom. Info stealer. Malware specifically designed to harvest credentials, cookies, and sensitive data. 43. Banking Trojan. Malware targeting financial institutions and online banking credentials. 44. Cryptojacker. Malware that hijacks computing resources to mine cryptocurrency. 45. Botnet. Network of compromised machines controlled by an attacker for coordinated attacks. 46. Bot herder. The operator who controls a botnet. Zombie. An individual compromised computer within a botnet. 48. Exploit kit. Pre-packaged toolkit that automatically identifies and exploits software vulnerabilities. 49. Zero-day exploit. Attack leveraging a vulnerability that has no available patch. 50. Watering hole attack. Compromising a website frequently visited by the target group to deliver malware. 51. Drive-by download. Malware automatically downloaded when visiting a compromised website. 52. Malvertising. Injecting malicious code into legitimate online advertising networks. 53. Phishing. Fraudulent communications designed to trick targets into revealing information or installing malware. 54. Spear phishing. Targeted phishing aimed at a specific individual or organization. 55. Whaling phishing attacks specifically targeting C-suite executives and senior leadership. 56. Smishing. Phishing delivered via SMS text messages. Vishing. Phishing conducted through voice calls. 58. Pretexting. Creating a fabricated scenario to manipulate a target into taking action. 9. Macro malware. Malware embedded in document macros that executes when the file is opened. 50. Supply chain attack, compromising a trusted vendor or software update to distribute malware. 61. DLL hijacking. Exploiting how Windows loads dynamic link libraries to execute malicious code. 62. Process injection. Inserting malicious code into a running legitimate process to evade detection. 63. Process hollowing. Replacing the code in a legitimate process with malicious code. 64. Reflective loading. Loading malware directly into memory from a non-standard location. 65. Code signing abuse. Using stolen or fraudulent certificates to make malware appear legitimate. 66. Obfuscation. Techniques used to make malware code difficult to analyze. 67. Packing. Compressing or encrypting malware to evade static analysis and detection. Sandbox evasion. Techniques malware uses to detect and avoid analysis environments. 69. Anti-debugging. Methods malware employs to detect and thwart reverse engineering attempts. 70. String encryption. Hiding readable text within malware to avoid signature detection. 71. indicator of compromise, IOC. Forensic artifacts like file hashes, IPs, or domains that indicate a breach. Yara rule, pattern matching rules used to identify and classify malware samples. T. Sigma rule, detection rules for log analysis, written in a standardized format. 74. Malware signature, a unique pattern or hash used by antivirus to identify known malware. 75. Heuristic analysis, detection method that identifies malware based on behavior patterns rather than signatures. Behavioral analysis, monitoring what malware does when executed in a controlled environment. 77. Static analysis, examining malware code without executing it. Dynamic analysis, running malware in a controlled environment to observe its behavior. 79. Sandbox, an isolated environment used to safely execute and analyze suspicious files. 80. Reverse engineering, deconstructing malware to understand its functionality and origin. 81. Disassembler, tool that converts compiled malware back into assembly language for analysis. 82. Decompiler, tool that attempts to reconstruct source code from compiled malware. 83. Threat Intelligence Platform, TIAWP, system that aggregates and correlates threat data from multiple sources. 84. MITRE ANMP, CK, framework cataloging adversary tactics, techniques, and procedures. 85. Kill chain, model describing the stages of a cyber attack from reconnaissance to exfiltration. 86. Tactics, techniques, and procedures, TTPs, the methods and patterns used by specific threat actors. 87. Advanced Persistent Threat, APT, sophisticated prolonged cyber attack, typically by nation-state actors. Threat actor, individual or group responsible for malicious cyber activity. 89. Attribution, the process of identifying the responsible threat actor behind an attack. 90. Ransomware gang, organized criminal group that operates ransomware campaigns. 91. Lockbit, prolific ransomware group known for fast encryption and large-scale attacks. 92. Black Cat, ALPHV, ransomware group that pioneered Rust-based ransomware. 93. Conti, former major ransomware operation whose playbooks were publicly leaked. 94. Data exfiltration, unauthorized transfer of data from a network typically before encryption. 95. Encryption at rest, protecting stored data which ransomware targets to maximize impact. 96. Shadow copy, Windows backup snapshots that ransomware often deletes to prevent recovery. 97. Volume shadow copy service, VSS, Windows service that creates backup snapshots targeted by ransomware. 98. Immutable backup, backups that cannot be modified or deleted, providing ransomware recovery. 99. Air-gapped backup, backup storage physically disconnected from the network. Hint. Incident response plan, documented procedures for detecting, containing, and recovering from a malware attack.